What is the most disturbing thing you've heard said casually? Hey, people of Reddit, ever heard something that made your skin crawl when it was said like it was no big deal? Today we're diving into the realm of the seriously creepy. What's the most disturbing thing you've ever heard said super casually? Get ready for some seriously unsettling stories that might just make you do a double take. Stick around as we unpack the weird and the unexpected. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to keep up with all the video we've got coming your way. Let's dig into these tales together. Number 15. I'm a pre-K kid, and one day when I was doing lessons, one of my 4-year-old boys asked me if I killed small animals. Horrified, I said, "No, why would you ask me that?" And he said, "I want to do that because I'm not big enough to kill people yet." Had to report it to my admin staff. They called a meeting with his parents, but the parents just laughed it off. I'll be looking for that kid's name on the news in 15 years. Number 14. I worked in medical health equipment delivery in college for a short amount of time. I was delivering some equipment from the company to an old sweet couple. The husband was wheelchair-bound, with severe issues. As I was doing the assembly within earshot of them, the old man was groaning, saying he had given up and was ready to check out. His old lovely wife was sitting there rubbing his face, giving him words of encouragement. "Come on, Jim, you are the strongest man I had ever known. You will come out of this. You are a fighter and survivor. Remember who you are. You are the man that killed 3 people and the cops didn't catch you." I pretended I didn't hear that and noped it out of there. Edit. I had no idea if they were messing with me, but they did not mention it later. Dude was in the Korean ward and had some crazy dry dark humor due to PTSD, but the wife. If it was some twisted joke, they got me for sure. I was the only one that delivered to them, and we were on a friendly basis. Number 13. When I was younger, I worked at a pool and had to lifeguard senior aerobics classes. Most participants were 65 plus. "Where's so-and-so? I hope he won't be here. His wife was put into hospice." "Well, I feel bad for him, but we do need some more single men around here. He's not bad looking, has a retirement too." Number 12. We had a recording for an international commercial where I work, and my colleague asked me if I've ever been in television. I said yes a couple of times, but nothing major. "How about you?" In which she replied with "once when my best friend was murdered and they tried to catch the killer." Number 11. Met a fellow teacher who was around 67 for coffee, and he casually said, "When I was 30, I was sleeping with a load of 13-year-olds. They were just throwing themselves at me." I left shortly after, walked back to the school, and informed the owner that if this man taught children, I'd quit on principle. Turns out he had already been banned for pinching a kid's nipple. Was this in Texas? My high school principal got demoted and moved to another school for this exact thing. He pinched a kid's nipple, and there were rumors he'd slept with students. It was a big scandal because he wasn't fired, but we went to one of the worst schools in the state as far as violence and graduation rate. Number 10. Many years ago, I was an assistant manager at a tobacco shop. We had one customer. I cannot remember his nickname, but I do remember his name. Ricky Ray last name. He was a Vietnam-era vet. I had asked one of our other customers, she worked at the VA, about him because his behavior was so off. I got out of him that he was stateside and was a Marine. When the VA lady got back to me, she said there were several Ricky Ray last names from that time that were stateside and 2 had been seen since for mental health. My Ricky Ray last name was one of them. I had asked her to check up on him because he came in one day like normal by his clovitis that he said kept the spirits away. But we were out. He conversationally started telling me about the demon woman that slept in his bed sometimes. She wasn't a human. She would come into his apartment sometimes and break his plates and sleep in his bed. He said if he could get the magic from the bites, she'd start letting the bugs out of her stomach, and then he'd be in real trouble. He said, "I guess I'll have to go home and kill her." As if someone was accepting the fact that they'd outgrown their favorite shirt and needed to buy another. Turned out Ricky Ray was batshit but never violent. Number 9. I was on a train one time, and across the aisle from me was a young father, his wife working, their 2 twin baby girls, and a double stroller. A dude gets on the train, and it's like a reunion. They're doing the whole "hey, how you been?" thing. He's kneeling on the ground playing with the girls and talking to them in a baby voice. Dad says to him, "Hey, you ever see so-and-so?" And without missing a beat, drops the baby voice and says, "We had to f him up." bashed in his knees with the butt end of a shotgun. Goes right back to telling the girls how cute they are. Mom and Dad didn't seem fazed at all. I didn't get the whole story, but it sounded like snitches get stitches kind of thing. Number 8. I was in an accident once and was hospitalized. The accident left me severely disfigured. I was out of my mind on pain meds when I arrived at the hospital and told my family to call my girlfriend and let her know what happened and where I was. My mom called my girlfriend, and my sister, not knowing the particulars of my life, called my ex. Neither knew the other had called, and both ended up showing up. They arrived within an hour of one another while I was asleep. Since someone was there with me, it gave my family a chance to go home and take a break. So I woke up to my ex and my girlfriend talking to one another. Obviously, my girlfriend was mad that my ex was there and things got heated between the two. My ex, being level-headed, suggested they step into the hall since I was half awake and in no condition to deal with the drama. As they're arguing in the hall, voices are being raised until finally a nurse comes to rein the situation in. The nurse, breaking them up, made my girlfriend leave. As she was leaving, she yelled, "You can have his ass. It's not like on me with some burnt-up scared dude anyway. He's At this point, I was still bedridden and hadn't seen a mirror. I was aware my body was but had no idea what I actually looked like. Hearing that was such a gut punch, and it really messed with my head at the time. Number 7. Quite recently, a friend's boyfriend. We were all finishing with a climbing session, and she fell from a big height and felt it in her upper spine. We were surrounding her, telling her to be careful, checking if she had a concussion, etc. She was a bit shaken. Her boyfriend then said jokingly, "If you die, I'll just freeze your body and use it for sex, haha." Everybody froze. She laughed feebly and awkwardly. We'd told him several times he's being a sexist jerk. She won't leave him. She tried once, but he manipulated her into coming back. These days, I can tell he doesn't understand why we're all avoiding him. He wonders why he has no friends and blames snowflake culture sometimes. Absolute dick who thinks he's a good person. Number 6. I was smoking a blunt with my girlfriend's brother's girlfriend and her younger cousin. As we're smoking, the younger cousin says to brother's that this reminds them of a funny story about their stepdad. They look at each other and start laughing, and me making combos like, "What funny story?" Brother's was like the story where he was drunk and acting crazy. Brother's GF then proceeds to tell me in vivid detail how her stepdad kidnapped her, her mom and younger cousin. While drunk off his ass, he had them all in the car, was speeding and threatening to kill everyone by driving off the road and hitting something. So brother's girlfriend and younger cousin are laughing their asses off while I just sit there stoned with a shocked look on my face. They asked what was wrong, and I said, "I'm still waiting for the funny part." They start laughing again and said, "It wasn't funny at the moment, but looking back now, it was funny," to which I said, "That doesn't sound like a funny story. It sounded like y'all got kidnapped and almost died." They just kept laughing. Number 5. Rode a taxi. Radio was discussing LGBT. Driver started complaining that his daughter is a lesbian. He said he's planning on getting her so she can feel what a man can do for her and change her mind. This is the most realistic answer. Everything else is just textbook psychopaths. This one is eerie. It sounds just like something a person would say in a conservative background. I live in a third world country that is religious, and something like this wouldn't even be socially unacceptable to say. Number 4. Girl 1. Ugh, I'm so hungry. Girl 2. Why don't you eat something? You're pregnant. Girl 1. Because I don't want to have it. This was in line for a roller coaster, by the way. I overheard something similar at a party during college. A couple girls were talking to each other, and they casually mentioned that they were going to get extremely drunk that night because both of them had late periods, so just in case the drinking would induce a miscarriage. Number 3. I was a camp counselor during the summers in high school and often had the youngest group of boys, usually 8 to 9 years old. While we were at the lake catching frogs and tadpoles and stuff, one kid picked up a bag with the group's frogs and spun it around, and then slammed it into the ground very hard, killing the frogs. My co-counselor kind of yelled at him like, "Why would you do that? You killed them." The kid responded with this weirdly sick smile. "I kill things all the time. I kill rats, I kill squirrels, I kill snakes, I kill dogs. I even killed a cat once when I caught it." Everyone was kind of stunned by this. Even the other kids were creeped out, and nobody seemed to respond for a long few seconds. My co-counselor and I were like, "That's enough lake for today." The kid was weird. He didn't have many friends and we thought he was bullied because he got picked on early on that summer, and we later found out beat the shit out of the kid who picked on him. But it turned out the kids knew better than us that he was a complete psycho. I don't know what happened to him. He moved away so didn't come back to camp after that year, but I'm convinced he'll end up in a news headline someday. Number 2. Something I once heard a passing stranger say for which I have no context. He wears a scarf around his neck so you can't see where he's decaying. I've been curious for years and it annoys me that I'll never know. I had a very similar conversation, but it was in a restaurant, I think. The conversation was about Pride and Prejudice and zombies. One character hides their decay with a scarf or something. I don't 100% remember. Number 1. I was working at a gas station when I was 17/18. The corporate offices were directly behind us, so they would come and get lunch and snacks from time to time. One man in particular always came to my register. One day, when his wife stepped away to grab something, he casually said to me, "I want to tie you up, throw you in the back of my truck, and drive away." It was the creepiest thing anyone had ever said to me, and the way he said it so casually and nonchalantly. I quit very quickly after that. Thanks for joining with us today. We hope our exploration into the casually disturbing left you intrigued and maybe even a tad spooked. Remember, if you've got your own unnerving stories to share, drop them in the comments below. And of course, don't hesitate to hit that like button if you enjoy the content. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on our next video. Until next time, keep your ears open and your guard up. See you in the next thrilling episode.